Hi, welcome. Good evening. You're welcome to our live today. It's good to have everyone back with us. We're always happy to be with you. This 1 hour session is always very fruitful, and we're happy for all those that keep supporting us. So this week's topic is a very interesting one. Before I go into the topic, just to remind us, please, we need your support. We need you to please continue to share our live. We need you to subscribe to our different channels. Um, Basically, that's the only way you can support what we do so that the message we bring can get to more people. Okay, so what is this week's topic? So it says discussing full disclosure in relationships and marriage. Discussing full disclosure in relationships and marriage. That's what we're talking about today. And with me, we have, right now, we have Abdul. We also have Sheun and Tunde, who will be part of the team to dissect this topic. So kindly join us. Remember that you can always participate in this discussion. Simply send us a chat or indicate interest if you would like to come up, and then we might be able to hear your opinion. Thank you so much. So we dive straight into the discourse. So why is this topic important? It's quite important mainly because we keep finding that a lot of relationships, especially those who have ended in marriage, continue to face serious strain that is related to things coming up in marriage that were not disclosed earlier on. We keep having people complaining that if they had gotten this information, they might not have proceeded with the whole idea of marriage. It's not something we should ignore. I do think it's something that we should take very seriously, and that's why we are discussing this. So there was a recent video I came across which was quite worrisome. I think what we'll do is just to play the video and then we take it from there. So I'm going to share my screen. That will give us an opportunity to play the video. Can someone unmute and let me know when you can see my screen? Are you able to see my screen?
Not yet.
Yes, so not yet?
Yeah, not yet.
Okay. Okay, I don't know why it's not sharing, but is it sharing now? Oh, okay. Tunde, maybe you can try to do it from your side while I continue. I don't know what's happening over here. Just
Would you love to send it to me? Let me try as well, yeah?
okay. It's just not giving me the share option. It's not highlighting the share option.
Add it as a scene. If you, I don't have the video, I would have just added it, upload it as a scene, and it will be showing. You don't have to share it.
Okay.
Just continue. You could send me the video. I will upload it here.
Yeah. Okay. It's on the WhatsApp group. I sent it already. So, okay. let's continue. Yes, come in, please. Okay, so I think I will be able to play it. Just because watching this video would give a good idea of what we are trying to talk about. So let me know if you can see my screen now.
It's terrible. Men, you guys are wicked. You are wicked. Let's agree that you are wicked. I have facts. People are wicked. So just my client sent me a DM and she was like, Ma, she took a picture and said, Ma, please, what is this drug? I saw it and I'm like, this is HIV drug. It was written Lamivudine. I'm like, this is HIV drug. And she was like, Jesus Christ. Then I told her, calm down. I was like, don't worry, calm down, don't worry. Okay, explain to me what happened. And she told me that she sees her boyfriend taking that drug once in a while. And then she asks him, what's this drug? And he tells her, okay, this drug is for a hole in his heart. Then I'm like, that doesn't really sit right. So I now had to ask her because I know that most of all these antiviral drugs is not only for HIV, you can use it for hepatitis. Then I asked her, does he have any other health condition like hepatitis? And she was like, no, that he said it was for a hole in his heart. A hole what? A hole in his heart. Then I asked her, does he take this drug every day? Because when you take it every day, your viral load will decrease so that you won't be able to spread it. She said, no. Haba, Mr. Man, why would you do this to this girl? If you see your boyfriend taking any medication, ladies, ask WhatsApp. Say, what is this drug? I'm going to go straight to the point right now so that I don't bore you guys out, but this is terrible. Men, you guys are wicked. You are wicked. Let's agree that you are wicked. I have facts. People are wicked. So just see, my client sent me a
Yeah. So I don't know. Were we able to watch the video along with me? Oh
Yes.
yeah, that's nice. So I don't know how you feel when you watch that video, but it might be a skit, it might be real, but the truth is that these things are happening. They happen every day. I have seen quite a number of them. It may not be exactly this scenario, but they happen. And that's why this topic is very, very relevant. So interestingly, there are a lot of things that comes under what we need to discuss with our partners prior to marriage. We are going to be going into why this is really a problem. We're also trying to understand the people who are in that situation, why it's difficult for them to disclose, what to tell their issues, and then we'll then also look at um, how we should handle such cases when they come up. So let's delve straight in. Let's start with Seun. Concerning this topic, I would really like to hear your opinion. What do you think? Let's just hear from you.
Okay, thank you, everyone. Thank you, Dr. Terry. So I would say that for any relationship to be a relationship, there must be openness. Well, I know that sometimes when people first meet, when they meet themselves, they may not be able to disclose so many things, but there's a point where you know that this is becoming much more than just mutual friendship. This is becoming more like, relationship that might lead into a romantic, or marriage relationship, as it may be. So there must be openness, and I think sometimes when it comes to issues like this, a lot of times people don't like to open up. They say, "Oh no, don't say it, don't say it." And I sometimes I don't. I tell people I don't get it. I don't understand when you say don't say. Don't say what? So when you look at situations like this, someone has got HIV, and he is keeping it, and it keeps infecting different people. No, I think that person, first of all, is a wicked person, as the video rightly said. And sometimes people now hide under, oh, you don't tell people everything. No, that's wickedness. And that's why sometimes I first of all say, when you talk about God's throne, it's laid with justice and righteousness. So justice, where's the number one? Okay, let's talk about the justice system, the justice, thinking well about the other person, thinking, putting yourself in the shoes of the other person, the righteousness, right doings, being kind to one another. So for this kind of person, if you are kind to your spouse or to the person you're in relationship with, you will be able to open up about your past. You'll be able to open up about things you think is necessary, for this person to know. And then when we now talk about, okay, relationship, whether even if it's friendship, sometimes, okay, like, okay, I had an uncle who died last year. I remembered going to a prison close by to his house, very close to his house. I called. I didn't get through. That was like August 11. And then by September or something, I heard he was gone. I didn't know he had cancer. I really felt bad because sometimes, we love one another. This man used to check up on me a lot. But I just found it like very strange that I didn't hear from him. And I was worried, unlike him, he would have replied. I didn't know he was battling with cancer. So sometimes, people can actually battle with things and they may not want to disclose to family members because they don't want you to be in trouble. They don't want you to get worried about them and all that. But there are times that openness, makes a whole lot of difference. We know that, oh, this person is the last time or last maybe period that will be meeting this person, at least just to put some things in place. So it's important that we open up to one another. It's important that we are kind to one another. And for any relationship to work, there must be kindness and there must be truthfulness. And what else? There must just be openness. So, or when you say, like, sometimes no, it's not just only health conditions. I'm so sorry. It's not just only health conditions. Sometimes people will say, oh, you don't disclose all that you hand to your wife. Oh. You don't disclose. So that means there is a faulty foundation. If you cannot disclose all that you earn, well, maybe not all, but depending on the way you see, depending on the way the dynamics of your relationship is, sometimes some men hide their money from their wives. Sometimes some women hide their because there is no trust. And let me just stop there. Thank you.
Okay, thank you so much. I will still come back to you, Seun. I really would like you to still specifically tell us the different things that we can dwell on that should be disclosed, because people can get confused in things like this, like what should I disclose? The truth is that some people never saw the need to disclose certain things. So this is an opportunity to maybe pinpoint areas that we think needs disclosure. What do you think, Sean?
Okay, thank you, sir. So there are many things that needs to be disclosed when people are in relationship. If one has got health issues, health related issues, it could be diabetes. And don't get me wrong, it's not just only in marriage relationship, even among friends. People could go out, like maybe people maybe hanging out, and then you realize that this person is weak. Perhaps this person has got a disease that needs to be treated urgently. And sometimes when people die because they lack knowledge. People die because they have not opened up to people they're supposed to open up to. So imagine somebody, okay, you all went out together, and then this person is talking about a tummy ache, and then before you know it, dizziness, and before you know it, they say that maybe perhaps the person went into coma, diabetic coma, or the person's blood sugar is very high, or the person has got even maybe hypoglycemia. But if the person has actually opened up to family members or friends to say, in case I'm in a crisis, this is the medical condition I have. You can give me this. Quickly call my doctor. If you don't hear from me, call people. So there are times that we don't need to die because we are open. But there are times that people die untimely because they choose to keep things, secretly. Okay, for instance, there are many women I've heard about, that maybe they had breast cancer. They just felt the lump. They'll just say, oh no, I don't need to tell anybody. I will pray. It's okay to pray. It's very fine to pray. As you pray, as you trust God, consult your medical doctors, consult your oncologists, consult people to say, this is the situation. What test can I have? Even if you don't have money, be open enough, to be able to be truthful to yourself, to help your family, so that people don't just mourn you like that. I read something. I'm so sorry for people who are not Christians. Just of recent, I read something in the Bible, 2 Samuel 3, and it struck me. I've been thinking about it for some days. 2 Samuel 3 from 33 to 34. It's a very short story though. A man was murdered, he was killed. His name was called Abner. And this man, Abner, David in the Bible had to sing for him. He sang a dirge song, funeral song, saying, "How can you die like a fool?" He said, "When your hands tied down." He said, "How can you die like a fool?" And I was like, hey, he said, "Your feet were not bound, your hands were not bound." And I'm like, ha. So sometimes we die like fools. Sometimes we suffer in silence. For instance, as well, maybe somebody is like a gay, yes, and because of what the society says, oh, okay, I just get married, and then they now get married. They no, they don't have affection, for that lady they've gotten married to, because they are geared towards the same sex. They now keep these women in bondage, and then they say, "Oh, well, that's what the society wants to see." So that's another area where people, if you feel like you are not clean enough, to be in relationship with somebody, just let the person know. Sometimes some people, they actually marry girls because they want to just punish their lineage. I've heard things like this. Or, so because of that, I want to punish this family for something they did to my grandfather. And sometimes they don't even know anything about it. So sometimes when we are into relationship with one another, either friendship, either marriage, either just mutual relationship, there are certain things we need to open up to, we need to open up about. Also, even struggles like failures. For instance, I used to tell people I wrote Y 10 times, I wrote Jam 7 times. So when you talk about failure, I just look at it that it doesn't mean anything. It is failure. I failed before, I can go back. So sometimes, things like this, I don't need to hide it. I don't need to tell everybody. But if you want to know, I can say these are the processes, or this was what I went through, and this was how I was able to overcome my failures. So things, so many times, I guess also is because of our culture. There are some things we've labeled. You don't tell a man, you don't talk about your family to your husband. And when you see sometimes when the women are suffering, from the hands of a man, because the man has told them, if you like, go and be telling them your problem. Everybody too is they are managing, all these people too are managing their own issues, marital issues. So you want to go and tell people, and before you know it, those women, they die in those marriages. Yes, and this is some of the things we need to talk about in the society. They die in the marriages. They suffer mental health breakdowns, and the man continues to like actually even say to them that yes, you are worth nothing. And then they cry, they can't tell anybody because he has said to them, if you like, go and be telling everybody. And then sometimes I tell people, I don't get it. So you mean if somebody continues to show you now, if you continue to stay there and to say that yes, I should not tell anybody. And I remember somebody called me last week to say, oh, don't say. They said, no, there are some things I cannot keep secret about, because I've seen people murdered their wives. I've seen people killed their husband. So there are some things that I cannot keep. I am so sorry. Whether as a Christian and professionally, I cannot keep some things. So I think let me just stop there so I can allow others to talk. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you so much. Very nice points. So I saw that you highlighted the aspect, especially of sexual orientation, as well as um, sexual orientation. You also talked a bit about if you have hidden agendas coming into the marriage. I'm just wondering, someone who has hidden agendas will definitely not even tell you before. So we just pray our daughters do not fall for such. There are some other areas that we will just I will just briefly mention.
Our
Just
daughters and our sons.
yeah. So there are some areas I will just briefly mention which might be quite important. So we have things like
Inclusiveness.
indebtedness. So indebtedness. So for some in some countries, when you marry me, you marry my debts. So it's something that is very, very relevant to talk about, and don't think it's unimportant. It can cause a lot of problems when ignored. And we have things like aside from health, there are some health related issues that we need to just point about. So if you know that you have some fertility related issues, either subfertility, infertility, they might be relevant to disclose, because the other person has the right to know. Impotence. So some men might know that they cannot do. It's the right of the partner to make that decision if she or he wants to go ahead. It's not impotence is not just about the men. Women too might be in a situation where they cannot engage in sexual activities. So it's the right of your partner to know what issues you have. Some people might be suffering from past trauma. Maybe they were raped when they were young. They are still battling it. These are things that needs to be discussed prior to commitment. So we have other things like if you've had a previous marriage, some people have been divorced and keep it. It's a very important information. If you have children alive at this time, those are not things you can hide. No, 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 no. They cause a lot of issues when they are kept away. Then you have things like criminal offenses. You have committed a crime somewhere. You might be caught up at any time. These are things. So we just mentioned them just in addition to what Sheun said, just because, and if we don't highlight it like this, some people may not really think that some of these things are important. So that's why we decided to just highlight it. So let's move on. Sheun, I'll still come back for you. I like hearing from you a lot. So let's hear from Tunde. So we've highlighted some things that needs to be disclosed. If I forgot anything and anybody has some good ideas, please let's shoot it out. So if you are that person that needs to disclose, that needs to give this information out, and what is the right time to do a disclosure? Is it immediately you meet the person, you're just having the interest and you just say, oh, you know what, I have this issue, I want you to consider it. I watched a video by Brain Jotter when he met a girl he liked, and the next thing was that, are you and what's your genotype? He wants to know sharp. Let him know whether he's proceeding or he should just back out. So I would like you to talk a bit about timing. When is the best time to disclose?
Okay. Good evening, everyone. I hope you can all hear me.
Yeah.
Okay. So the right time for disclosure depends on the context, the nature of the disclosure, and the relationship between the parties involved. There are many scenarios and factors that can be considered. Number one, the personal secrets and vulnerabilities of these parties that are involved should be considered. So when is it relevant? If your disclosure impacts the relationship or the situation, it's better to bring it later, not soon. So there's no one cap that fits all. So one has to see what impact that disclosure will bring to the relationship. So if it's something that is going to kill the relationship, it's better to bring it later than now. Then if on health or medical conditions or medical ground, if the disclosure is something that will help to save life, if it's going to impact on the life of others, and for the sake of humanity and for the sake of trust and for the sake of sincerity, I think it is important to bring up such to disclose such conditions, those medical conditions, immediately the relationship is established, because you'll be doing a disservice to the other person, even at workplace. Because, like Shane was rightly mentioned, that this disclosure encompasses every aspect of life, maritally, even at workplace, between friends, every type of relationship, So in workplace, sometimes there are some informations that um, keeping it will impact the office or the organization negatively in the long run, because you might not be able to give your best to the organization. So making a full disclosure or some form of disclosure, disclosing relevant information to your employer or your team. So especially if it impacts the organization negatively on the role or job you perform, I think it is important such information is disclosed as early as possible. So the fact is that honesty is just the basis of all of these issues. So, but generally, the tips for timing I'm just the tips for timing could be number one, for you to assess the impact. So, is your disclosure crucial to the situation? It's very crucial to the situation at hand. Maybe it's going to impact um, the relationship, either marital relationship or just normal friendship, or um, boss and subordinate relationship, workplace relationship. If it's going to impact it negatively now, it is important you disclose now. But if it's something that the impact is not in the immediate, I feel that it's not the parties are not yet ready to receive such kind of information. Such kind of disclosures uh, can be kept for later. So that's one. So the general tips on timing could be to assess, number one, assess the timing, the impact. Sorry. Secondly, you could choose. It's important for you to choose the right setting. So you want to share something that is very important to your friend, to your boss, to your employer, to your spouse, to the person you are dating. The right setting should be in a very private, distraction-free environment, so that the such information can be well received. Hope I'm still loud and clear. Then, thirdly, I hope I'm loud and clear. Can you still hear me?
Yes, we can hear you with
Yeah.
you.
Okay. Okay. So, I'm still talking about the timing, the general tips for the timing. So, the third thing that you could also consider is um, the recipient's the recipient's state of mind. So it's important to ensure that the person is in a good frame of mind to receive the information. So somebody that is not in the right frame of mind, sharing you can't you should be able to weigh the temperature and the frame of mind of that person that needs such disclosure before it is being shared. Lastly, is to envisage and to be prepared for reactions. Just think through possible responses on how you will be able to handle um, that reactions and responses from the person. I believe if all of these things uh, um, are followed and considered, um, there will be no problem in relationship, and so informations that are shared or that are disclosed by the parties will to be easy for the other party to accept and understand with the person doing this full disclosure. Yeah, thank you. Over to you, Terry.
Okay, thank you so much. I saw a message from Adewusi, very important message. So he says he doesn't really understand what we're discussing yet. So just to explain, we are talking about
Tommy, you are muted.
I will mute him.
oh, really?
Go ahead. You are
Okay.
muted. You are muted. Yeah.
Okay. So I said I'm trying to address a question by Adewusi in the comment section, who says that he doesn't yet understand what we are discussing. So just to explain that we are talking about those things that needs to be disclosed, especially if you are in a serious relationship with someone with the intention of getting into marriage. We've highlighted a number of things. We started with a video whereby a lady found out that a relationship of 8 months with a guy, she later found out the guy was on antiretroviral medications, which is HIV medications, and he never told her. And she ended up doing the test and she was positive. So the stimulation there was that why did this guy not tell her? Doesn't she have the right to know so as to decide if she wants to go ahead or not? While we're discussing, I got some messages about some other things to add to our list. So one of them is mental health issues. So people sometimes leave this. It's very important. If you are dealing with something, mental health especially, you need to let the other person know. And another thing is your economic plans. Are you planning to japa? That's for those who may not understand it. That's, are you planning to travel or immigrate? These are also very important. Some people would also say um, your sexual drive. Like it might not sound important to others, but if you think you are in the extreme, either you have a very low drive or a very, very high drive, you need to find out if the other person will be compatible with your kind of person.
How
So
would you know? How would
yeah,
you know? How would you know on that? How do I know I'm
let's not go
before
into it.
marriage?
No, 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 no. So
I'm,
No,
before
it's
marriage,
by it's
I'm
by
the one to
openly
help.
discussing it. No,
yeah, I get
Tommy,
to this
it's by
No,
point,
openly
which is that some
discussing
people
it.
do not engage in.
Abdul, how do I get to know that I'm on
No,
the extreme even before marriage?
well, it all depends. If you've tried it before, you would know that your body mechanism too. If you understand
Okay.
your body
So the
mechanism,
trial,
are you the type that get excited when you? How often do you think about it, even if you've not?
tried
Well,
it.
as usual, this program is rated 18 and above. Yeah, so even if you've not had sex, yeah, when you start thinking about it so much, it's something you should discuss with your partner. If time I see this is what I think of this, so it shows that you have high drive, high libido for it. And if your partner say, look, for me, I don't even think about this in 6 months, I don't think about this in 2 years, then the person would know, okay, the person's drive is low. I believe with this few points of mine, I've been able
Yeah,
to
maybe to
convince you or
convince
not
us.
convince you. So,
Comedian. Okay.
Yeah,
Let's
I
all
think
see.
he has convinced me. Yes, it's very
Well,
important, very
well,
important.
well,
All
can I
this.
say something there?
Oh
Can
yeah,
I say
let's
something?
hear
Yeah.
from you.
The disclosure could just be in form of talking about your fantasies when it has to do with sex. Like, what do you fantasize? How do you, are you someone that can, if you could talk, communication is very important in relationships. So if you are talking to your second and the person is saying, I can do 10 rounds in a day, you should know that the person have high drive. You know, that's what I think.
um, Innocent, Tunde's question is, how would the person know when the person has not tried it before? How can you
Oh,
know you can run
that's for the
10,000
person that has
marathon
not tried
when
it.
you've
Now, a
not
lot of
tried
people
it
have
now?
tried. A lot of people have tried it now.
How do you
A
know a
lot of
lot of people
people.
have tried it? Speak for yourself, Sam. Speak for yourself, Oga.
Okay, let's
Tunde,
move on. Let's move on. We thank you, Tunde. You really helped a lot with highlighting
Thank
some of these very important points. The right time, like Tunde said, it depends on the situation. But I think the overall picture Tunde is trying to create is that we should be fair. If you were in the other person's shoes, at what time will you want to be told? For me, I would like to stress, especially if you have infectious diseases that can be transmitted to others, then the timing should be as soon as possible. Unfortunately, that is the most difficult to tell someone. So it's quite difficult. That's why we're having this discussion. It's not as easy as people think because when you are not in the other person's shoes, so you just like, why didn't he tell me? But if we can also know how the other person feels, then we can maybe show some empathy. So these are the dynamics. You have someone who might want to tell you, but he's scared about shaming. He or she is scared about rejection. He might have been rejected a number of times and is wondering, do I want to lose this person again? So these are the dynamics that play along the line when people have to disclose things like this. But that's no excuse. We need to so for me, just like what Tunde said, timing is relation depending on the situation. But if you have something that you can infect the other person or you can directly affect the other, then it behoves on you to please disclose as early as possible. And by law, if you transmit infections, you can actually be sued for you can be sued
Yeah,
and you can pay
I
highly
was
for
going
it.
to mention that I know in some society it's deliberately spreading infection is a case that you can get through. Yeah, I was just going to mention that. Thank you for bringing that up
Yeah.
to me.
It can be treated as a criminal offense. So that's how serious it is. But if of course if you discuss with the person and they say, okay, it's not a problem, let's see how we can go around it, then all good. You can fly. So let's move on. So you've decided to disclose. There are two things that could happen. One is the person says, I've heard what you said. However, I'm happy to go ahead. No problem. What do we do? It happens. I've seen a doctor. I know of a doctor when we were very young who married a lady that had HIV and she died. Then I think the treatment of the disease was not as good as it is now. She died from the disease, but he continued his life. I think he later remarried. And from the stories I heard, I'm not sure, but he was negative all the while. So some people can just accept it and say, okay, no problem. I love you so much. I will go ahead. I will support you in this journey. That's fine. But this is a story that we don't hear a lot of time. A lot of time you're gonna get rejected. So let's talk about rejection. So what do you do after rejection? I want to throw this to Abdul. Abdul, let's hear from you. If you are in this guy's shoes who has been rejected, what do you think?
Uh, Tommy, thank you. Good evening, viewers, and good evening, my fellow friends who are part of this discussion. This topic is a very important topic. Like the video you shared earlier, it's quite a very sad one. I believe probably if the guy had disclosed early, the lady would have been able to take a decision. But maybe it's fear of rejection. Like you said, sometimes, like Tunde highlighted, yeah, that sometimes fear of rejection could also be the reason why people would just rather keep it to themselves. But what do you do when you get rejected? Unfortunately, it's part of life. In relationship, even without disclosures, people get rejected. Yeah. So basically, I would say that people should acknowledge their feelings when they get rejected. because rejection is not a reflection of your self of your words. It's because of the mismatch. This person has told you this, and you feel is not. You've told your other partner this is it, and the partner feels it's not a match, and she'll say, "Look, I can't continue this thing." So it's not your fault. You've done your best. You've disclosed to the best of your knowledge. Then you should avoid blame. Hello.
So
Okay.
continue. I don't know
Can
what
you
happened.
guys hear me? Oh, okay. So people should avoid blaming themselves when they are rejected. It wasn't your fault. You had to do what you did. You know. Then you should also reflect on what you've learned about yourself. So reflect on the situation, reflect on what happened, reflect on the disclosure you've made, and also reflect on the experience you've had with that situation or with that circumstances that made you disclose to your other partner that has led to this rejection. Yeah, people should also learn. I always preach people should seek support. It's very important when you're going through rejection. Seek support, speak to a counselor because people have different ways of handling rejection. Sometimes people can go do some things that are uncalled for. But when you speak to a counselor, when you speak to someone you trust, when you're able to share this your experience with someone who has probably experienced it before or can guide you through, it helps people heal faster. So speaking to counselors, speaking to people that you trust helps you heal faster. Then when you're rejected, again, it's like I said earlier, it's part of life. You need to focus on your personal growth. Yes, that personal growth is very important. So, unfortunately, the rejection has come. So, what do? You have to move on. Focus on your personal growth. Try to ensure you become a better person out of that rejection. Out of that rejection, try ensure to become a better person. That is to say, you need to maintain optimism for the future. Yes, you've disclosed to Mr. A today is rejected you, that doesn't mean when you meet Mr. B tomorrow, you wouldn't want to disclose. You should also disclose and be optimistic that look, Mr. A might have rejected you for obvious reasons, but Mr. B will say, okay, yeah, let's go on. Like the example Tommy gave earlier about the doctor whose wife disclosed some years ago about HIV status, but it still proceeded. You know, and probably she had disclosed to somebody earlier, and the person had rejected her. So for the fact that somebody has rejected you, is not it's not a, a yardstick, or it's not something that must say the next person would also reject you. So you need to be optimistic for the future, and also you respect the other person's decision. It's her decision. You've done your best. You've disclosed. You've disclosed maybe you're having debt. You've disclosed your debt position as a guy. You're planning to marry a lady. You're in a relationship with a lady. You have so much debt hanging on your head, and you've disclosed to her. She said, "Look, I can't carry on with this debt. You know, but what do? You've done your best, so you need to respect the other person's decision." Then, in the healing process, I always tell people, take it one day at a time. When you are healing, you don't need to rush about it. Everybody have their own time, their own healing time. You know why uh, this a certain person could heal faster. Some other people take time to heal. I've seen situation where somebody got separated from a marriage, and the next 6 months the person is remarried. I've also seen a situation whereby after separation the person can even was never even thought about marriage 10 years. I saw something about one prominent lady in Nigeria. She's had 4 marriages, 4 different men. You know, so probably she heals faster from whatever has happened with the previous time. So people should learn to take it slowly, take it one step at a time. gradually you get healed from your rejection. So Tommy, I want to pause now. So I hope I was able to deal with the topic that you've asked. So well, we'll just go on with the program, and over to you,
Yeah,
Tommy. Thank you.
yeah. Thank you so much, Abdul. I always like listening to you. Before we go ahead, I want to just read a comment by one of our guests and one of our audience. So it says, "Okay, got it. For me, I will categorize these items, which is referring to disclosure, to be disclosed into three. First, there are things you need to disclose immediately or during courtship. Secondly, there are issues you can disclose after marriage. And thirdly, there are some things that should be buried in the past. By the grace of God, I am in my second marriage, and during courtship, I was as clear as possible on the fact that I have been married before and had a child with my first wife. Truth is, I feared rejection, but I was determined to be sincere." I read this and I just think this was just typical of what we're talking about. He's a good example. He's established or informed the spouse of this very important information. Not everyone does, especially in today's world where you can actually travel to one city, nobody knows you, and you just live your life and you just feel your past is your past. So it's a good example. But I was especially interested in those other aspects he mentioned in terms of timing. So I will start with, what are those things that should never be disclosed? That should be buried in the past. Can anybody just give one example? I'm just wondering. I'm trying to think.
Body count.
Body
Yeah,
count.
Body count.
I think
Yeah. I don't I don't yeah, I think so. I think so. It's not gonna add
Body
anything.
count is
not
not is not
necessary.
is not a useful information.
It's not a useful information. It doesn't change anything. It might change, it might be an important information, but it's not gonna change much. It's only gonna create, maybe if you have a very high body count, it's only gonna create kind of distrust, but doesn't really add much. I agree with that. What else do we think we it's difficult if you don't have something in mind, but I'm just thinking there must be something we have that we feel this one dies with me. Anyway, we all know what we mean.
Okay, let me just come from another angle.
Okay.
Um, I'm just trying to word it, and I'm just thinking. Okay, sometimes, for instance, some people, like, if they don't trust, how do I say, their spouses? We are talking about real life issues here. If they don't trust their spouses and they feel that their lives may be at stake, they don't need to disclose to that spouse their plans. No, I know. Sorry.
Are you viewing
Hello.
us from any of your other devices?
Don't
Hello.
worry, I've muted everyone. Just continue, then we'll unmute later.
Thank you. So, because it's quite, what I'm saying is it's actually sounds very difficult, but there are instances. Okay, I just don't want to go straight into what I'm trying to say. But for instance, if you think your life is in danger, from somebody, maybe there's somebody stalking you. You are not even in a relationship with the person, you don't need to, or you are okay, you are in relationship with the person and you think that you don't want this person anymore, you can just take your bags and leave. And that's the truth. Also, for instance, like somebody was saying, oh, was God, I'm just trying to just be careful what I'm saying now. Okay, if your life is in danger, you're in a marriage relationship, and this person wants to kill you, he's always threatening you that I will kill you one day. What are you doing? Our religious minds will not actually, may not actually like what I'm talking about. But some people have died in things like this. It's like, or for instance, maybe abroad. Yes, let me even use this jackpot thing. Um, both spouses are here, and then one spouse is saying, "I want to renew your visa." So if this person has told you clearly, I won't renew your visa, and then you are keeping quiet, you are still not saying anything, you're not looking for job, you're not looking for things that people that can sponsor you, I think it's a wrong deal. Sometimes some things are difficult, like Mr. Abdullah has told us, you need to go for counseling. People who are not biased, people who don't even know, who don't even know you. There are times that people may even have plans that, oh, I want my wife to stay in Nigeria. I want to live my life and enjoy myself here. So before you marry such people, disclose your plans to them. And I want to say a word of caution. Sometimes these men, these women, they would have told their spouses that these are my plans, but they will still say, oh no, things will change, or I will change him. He has told you that he does not love your Jesus. He has told you he does not love your Quran. He does not love your religion, or he does not love you. But you're still saying, oh, don't worry, I must marry him. What are you doing? He's just sleeping with you. Then perhaps maybe you need to have a value, form of self-esteem for yourself. I don't want to be too harsh, but you just need to just know what you're doing. I don't know if I've answered the question, but I'm just trying to I'm trying to maintain confidentiality as much as possible. But if your life is in danger, if you have plans, like I was telling a lady, and she was saying, oh, even if she wants, sorry, that she doesn't mind traveling. I said, see, if you want to travel, travel. Don't you? I don't need to know. It's your life. You're an adult. Thank you.
Okay, thank you so much. Innocent, please, you might have to mute. I think the echo is coming from your side. Okay, so nice. Let's move on. You have to be in a situation to actually be able to give a good example of what you will never disclose. Unfortunately, you won't disclose what you will never disclose. So let's let it be. We all know what we're talking about. There are some things that you just die with. Then I'm just thinking, what is that thing that you will be able to disclose only? You should disclose only when you're in marriage. That aspect looks like a very gray area. Well, what is it that is appropriate to disclose only when you are in marriage? I will understand disclosing during courtship. I understand never disclosing, but why are we waiting for marriage? And then we see, maybe if you give us an example, that will help, because me, I can't think of anything that that I have to wait till marriage to disclose. But let's move on. Um, let's move on. So we don't. 1 hour has always been our problem since we've been here. So now you've been rejected. We've talked about how.
Sorry, Tony. Before you go on, and just to respond to that question about some things, maybe I could give an example, like your financial situation. Sometimes it's not exactly true. Yeah, it's important during courtship, but as long as you're able to manage it, I don't need to tell you that I have 4 5 loans with different banks during courtship. Do you understand? As long as it's not affecting my finances. But when I get married, I should be able to tell my spouse, look, I have 4 5 days in this loans in this bank, this and this and that. I think this should be an example of something that you can only disclose when you're married.
Yeah, thank you, Abdul, for helping us there. I think I agree with you. If it's not too extreme, like the depth or whatever of finance is not in the extreme, I think you can actually wait until you are married. Yeah, that's fine.
There's
It's
a comment. There's a comment from Clement Eddie Frederick
okay.
Okaigwe. Just look at it. Yeah.
Okay, let me read the comment from Clement. Says some things that have no bearing or impact on your current relationship should be left in the past and never spoken about. There are also situations where delayed disclosure lead to deceit, which is a very valid ground for dissolution of marriage. Thank you, Clement. That summarizes it. If it doesn't affect your partner directly or indirectly, you essentially may not need to talk about it. If you delay too much, then that may be a problem. Eddie, I know you are a very senior lawyer. We really maybe I would have really liked to hear maybe 2 minutes from you about what's the impact of non-disclosure. If you'll be interested in coming in, just let us know, then we can send the link to you, which you can use to come into the studio and just tell us the impact of non-disclosure. What are the in terms of the law, what does the law says? And we'll hear from you if you're interested. Meanwhile, let's move ahead. So I want to move to Tunde now. Sorry, to Innocent now. So you are the person who has rejected the other person. How should you handle this? It's also very important, because my opinion about this is that if we have more people handling rejected partners properly, you will encourage more people to disclose. It's also easy to blame people when they don't disclose, but we forget that other people who have disclosed have been treated in certain ways in the past, and this is directly or indirectly going to impact future disclosure. So we are in that privilege to stop the circle. What can we do when we are in that position that we have rejected someone? What or how should we handle this kind of situation? Innocent, let's hear from you. You are mute. Oh, sorry, I will mute you now. Go ahead.
Can you hear me now? Can you hear me now?
Yes, we can hear you. Go ahead.
Okay, good. So it's very important to handle rejection with respect, with grace, and kindness. Let me use those three attributes. Now, I'm going to look at the reason why it's important to do this is because if you fail to do this, it can prevent, it can result to a long-term resentment and hurt if you don't reject people appropriately. Because you're talking about feelings here, and feelings, they grow and develop. So when someone has grown and developed feelings for you, it's difficult to just let go. So for that reason, you need to be careful when you do the rejection. Now I'm going to look at 4 things or 4 areas or 4 things you can do in order to be able to reject appropriately, or using these 3 attributes. The first one is communicating respectfully. Let's just use 1 or 2 ways to explain that one. You see, when you are rejecting someone, it is very good for you to be clear and honest about it. And then one way you can do that, or the approach, is to also be appreciative, like appreciate the person. It's not like, I don't want you for this reason. But does it mean there is nothing good about the person? So you have to be able to say, okay, I like you, I appreciate this, I know you have done this or you've done that, but this is my stand. This is what I want to do. Another thing is you should avoid giving false hope. Some people might want to reject and you are still giving false hope. You're still leading the people on. So in that way, the person might not fully understand you and you are playing with their emotions in that way. So that's number 1. Number 2 is to maintain a healthy relationship after rejection. This might not be for a lot of people. Some people feel like when you break up a relationship, you should just forget about the person. But I'm not a party to that school of understanding. Me, I believe that you can keep healthy relationship, make people who were lovers friends. Yes, it's possible Tomorrow they might just be the ones to save you out of a mess or something, but you might be in a position to help them in one way or the other. Because if you really do away with all your friends, let's say you are someone, a guy who dated like 5 females, and none of them are your friends, you realize that you actually, maybe when you were in school you did that, you realize that you went to school and you don't have any friend left, because you might just be close to these 5 females during your school and you really were having a serious friendship. So it is okay for me, I feel it is okay for you to break up a relationship, know your stand, know your boundary, and then still be friends, be platonic friends. It's allowed, it's okay. Though there are some dangers, and the dangers only come when you do not take the appropriate steps. For instance, when you are talking about the relationship after breakup, you have to be able to give them space, especially initially before, just after the breakup. You should give space. Then you should also make sure that the other person is emotionally ready. And then with time, you should be able to engage in neutral discussion or in neutral engagement, not leading the person on, like I said earlier. So that's the second one. The third point, be able to set healthy boundaries. Healthy boundaries after a breakup. After you have communicated, you should, after you've communicated clearly, you should also be able to set healthy boundaries. You should be able to say, okay, there are some things you can't do that when you do, it ignites the romantic feelings that was there before. Or when you say. So, and then another thing could be frequency in calls. Like maybe you used to midnight calls, you used to stay hours in calls. Reduce or cut down on those things. In that way, you will be able to maintain healthy boundary. And lastly, you should be able to address uncomfortable situation. Like you're trying to break up from someone, you have done all these things I've talked about, but this person still come up. If the person still struggles to accept your rejection and overstep those boundaries you have created, then you should do well to reaffirm your position. You should politely reaffirm or state your feelings, like tell them, this is how I feel about this thing. I really don't like our relationship to go past this level. Let it be here, okay? And then you have to disengage if it's necessary. If it comes to that point where you have realized that this person doesn't want to give up, you are talking and they are not listening, you can disengage. If you continue to try to maintain a healthy relationship, like I said earlier, you can do that for a while. Giving that space might allow the person to heal properly. And then that distance people share, when you now see each other, you will now be able to respect each other properly. Navigating this rejection is not often very easy. It's a very complex subject to discuss because there are so many factors that affect it in terms of the persons involved, their level of understanding, their level of comprehension, their emotional comprehension, the environment where you are talking, where these persons are, where they are dealing with each other also affects. So, but in all, when you are planning to disengage or you're planning to break up with someone, take note of these 3 factors or 3 characters that I mentioned. Do so with respect, do so with grace and kindness. Yeah, that'll be
Thank you so much. Thank you. Please, Innocent, mute, please. Okay, I've muted you. Oh, thank you so much, Innocent. Very nice points you gave to us. Very valuable. Please, as much as we are talking to those who need to disclose, I think we should also stress the fact that those who are being disclosed to should treat these persons well. That will encourage more people to disclose, and then you can more people will enter relationships where they know what they are dealing with. At least you know what you are starting with. We know things can come up later, but at the start, we should know where we are starting from. And that reminds me of um, maybe in my own personal experience, when I was interested in someone, and one of the things she mentioned then was that she's medically not able to have a child, and I just ended it then. But I know that I maintained respect with her. I know that I've never disclosed or discussed this with anybody, and I would never say it to anybody. So she is married now, and I'm very happy for her. But you know, that encourages the idea of telling people your own personal situations and giving people the options to make a choice. You might get rejected, but one day you get someone who says, "Oh, I don't even mind. In fact, that's what I even prefer. That's what we're trying to preach. That's what we're trying to encourage. We had problems with getting that example of. We got a few examples of that situation where we we don't need to tell the other person. But I like the comment we got from one of our participants who gave his own example that in his previous marriage he was more feminine, he was very accommodating, and that was a problem in his marriage, and he thinks that was the main one of the main contributors to breakdown of the marriage. But he didn't see the need to disclose this to his current partner because it's really not relevant to her. But he has gained from it. In other words, he is now a better husband. He's worked on those areas. He needed that information, but the partner doesn't need it. So I think that was just also another very good example of what you really, it's an information that can die with you. Thank you so much. We've had very interactive guests today. Very
There's a
interactive.
question. There's a question for the last speaker. That's innocent. There's a question for you from the comment section. Someone is saying
Okay.
for clarification, how do you keep up communication, friendship, or keep healthy boundaries with someone who costs you your dignity or self-esteem in the course of the relationship as a result of their personal conduct? So he went on further to say, for instance, as a perfect gentleman, I get into a relationship with, let's say, a banker who is in the habit of converting customers' funds, after which she eloped and I got arrested and detained for something I never knew.
I will put Innocent in the center of
That's
this
a
case.
hot
Innocent, come
seat for you, Innocent. Gang, a
come
lawyer
and
is
answer
asking
this.
you this question. You don't hear, you must answer.
You are mute. You are mute.
Okay, I think it's from my end. I think it's from your end.
We can hear you now.
Go
We
Can you
can
hear
hear
me
ahead.
you.
now?
Go ahead. Go ahead. Yes, yes, yes.
So what we highlighted in the aspects I talked about is if you are the person doing how you can gracefully handle the situation. Okay, but your story seemed to be away a little from what we are discussing. You're talking about someone who kind of broke up with you. So you're on the other side. You are on the other side. And it wasn't handled gracefully. Okay. So this person didn't come to you and say, okay, I'm breaking up with you. And yeah, that's what we are talking about. Like, if you want to break up with someone, you should do it gracefully. Now, if you find yourself on the other side, like someone just came up and break up with you in a very disastrous manner, there are some things you can do to be able to cope. Okay. First of all, we are not able to define what the person actually wants. The one I went through, the points I went through, is someone who wants to break up with you and still want to keep you as a friend. Okay. There are some persons, like I said, who would want to break up and believe that you can never be friends no more. You cannot, don't talk to me again because I don't want to have anything to do with you because we are no longer. I've seen, especially ladies, I've seen some of them like that. Now, in this your case, it is left for you to pick up your pieces You know, pick up your pieces and glue it together and be strong. Okay? Things happen in life and you learn from it. So if someone break up with you and they are not able to do it in a manner that we are trying to describe here, the reason why we are bringing this discussion here is because we want to know how to do things right. A lot of people don't know how to do things right. So if someone has done you wrong in that manner, it doesn't necessarily mean some people make a mistake. They take that grudge, they go to the next relationship. I want to punish the next person. No, it shouldn't be like that. You should let go of the hurt, let go of the pain, forgive the person, and move on to your next relationship. If you're able to get yourself out of it, especially if they come back in any way to apologize for what they have done, then just take it that things happen. And that's my take on that.
Thank you so much, Innocent, for that. I'm gonna mute you again. I think echo is coming from your side. So meanwhile, Abdul seems like he wants to say something. Abdul, let's hear from you.
Okay, are you able to hear me now?
We're hearing you.
I think Innocent didn't quite understand that question very well. If Eddie is not talking about you being the rejected person, it could possibly that you are the one that even ended the relationship because of what you've suffered in the hands of the other partner. So what he's saying is that if such a relationship ends that way, how do you maintain that friendship? I would say that maintaining friendship in a relationship that ends should be done on a case by case basis. It doesn't have to be, we can't generalize, say for every relationship you end, you must become friends. You see, I'll give you an example. I was recently got talking with where he had a conversation, a group of friends. We were all in the university together. And we had this guy that was dating this lady. In fact, at some point, they kept winning best couple in school. But after school, based on some technicalities, you know, she got married to someone else. Now, this guy said they've never spoken to each other since after school. But she is very close. She's still very close to his friends, his close friends. So this is like when was this? This is about yeah, it should be about 20 years now. And he said that they've not said hello to each other because the relationship ended well, but because of mutual respect and agreements, so they had to keep that distance. They don't talk to each other.
Distance.
Yeah, but she's still very good friend to his close friends that are very close. In fact, when we were in that meeting, somebody reached out to her. Said, "Yeah, I'm talking to him." I said, "Oh, okay, greet him for me," and he ends there. So it's not about whether the relationship ended well, they will not talk. No, I believe the response to that should be case by case basis. Each relationship should be dealt with case by case basis. It cannot be, we cannot just generalize. So, and in the example Eddie gave, it's talking about the guy being the one that was being cheated on. So he probably ended it based on the experience he's had. And somebody that got locked up probably because of the action of the other partner. How do you expect that person to become friends? We don't need to fight, but we don't need to talk. I believe I'm sure each one of us here will probably add people that we've had in our past that we not, as in, we're not quarreling, but we don't even say hello to each other anymore. So that's what I think, basically to me, yeah. Then,
Yeah.
uh, are you sure Eddie will allow us go today?
No, no.
There's no
I will attend to what Eddie said. So Eddie fully agrees with you, and I also agree. We all agree with you. It's case by case basis. There are some cases that you can actually cut off contact, and then there are some that you keep. So we've really had a good session today. I think technically was very great. We only had a bit of reduction of our video quality, which we will try to improve on next time. But I think everything went well. We are happy to have you guys today. Please keep sharing our video. We need support, especially in terms of getting more
Viewership.
people. subscribe our YouTube channel so that we can start growing a bit over there. Thank you so much. This is how we do it every week, and we'll still be around next week. I know that during December we might be having some kind of break at some point, but I'm sure we'll be around by next week. So please support us on our Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, TikTok, and Twitter. If you like what we do, you think this is a message that can resonate with you, your family, or friends, then please forward this to your friends. And we keep trying to pick topics that resonates with our audience, that also will solve some problems, and that we ourselves learn from. I've never come here one day and I didn't learn something. Before I go, I know it's time is gone, but just to give it to the house, if one or two persons just have one or two things they want to chip in with maximum of 1 minute before I call it a day. Maximum of 1 minute if we have anything to chip in.
Okay, my final word before we go is please, people should learn to be open in their relationship, learn to disclose important status. From the place where we are from, the sickle cell is still very much prevalent, and that's because people don't disclose. You don't get into relationship, you don't get married out of love only. There are other factors, including your health condition, because at the end, you just probably be punishing the kids you're bringing into the world. You understand what I mean? So full disclosure, and people should please accept the other person very well and quite understand. If there are things that you can always work around it, please do accept and work around it. And if there are things that you cannot, don't accept it now. In the nearest future, you say, I'm not accepting anymore. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. Any other person in the absence of any other? Okay, Sean, do you have something? Oh.
Thank you, everyone. I'll just be quick. Well, there's a lot of deception out there in the world. God has made us simple people, but we've become complex. So, in order to, in order to just avoid some stories that touch, pray, ask God to reveal certain things about people. And that sometimes you also have, God telling you, instinct saying that this person is deceptive. Don't assume that you are judging the person. Listen to your inner spirit, I mean God's spirit within you, and be smart. Don't let people cage you down. Even when you know those things are wrong, when you know that this person is not opening up, don't just enter into such relationships blindly. It could even be a friendship relationship, and you just know that something is quite awkward, or this person is trying to blackmail you, is trying to make you feel bad so that they can control you. Exit. They can be toxic. Thank you. That's my word of advice. Thank you.
Thank you so much. So this is where we call it a day. See you all next week. Bye.